All right, so back to working on the little Kubota today. This is my L175. It's a 1970s vintage machine. It was having some hydraulic issues. Basically, we figured that it had some kind of internal hydraulic leak where the cylinder that lifts and lowers the three-point hitch was. And what it was doing is it was pressurizing the rear end of the tractor and thus forcing oil past the seals up into the transmission, which shouldn't be there. So we popped the cover off of this thing in the last video, and what was in there was absolutely disgusting, for lack of a better term. That is Titanic level corrosion. It is the single most pitted and destroyed hydraulic cylinder I've ever seen. The piston, when it came out of there, there's just this old nasty, like chewed up, mostly torn O-ring that pretty much just flopped off of the piston, and it was really, really bad. So what I did is I got on the old internet and I looked up Kubota parts breakdowns for this machine, and to my surprise, they actually still sell parts for it. They even sell these parts for it. I believe the cylinder that I needed was somewhere in the $500 to $600 range once you figure in shipping, and I pretty much just flat out refused to pay it. So what I did is I went to a machine shop around here. A buddy of mine owns the place. I've done some work for them in the past, and what do we get, Mr. Unlucky? What I took him is this. This is the old cylinder. You can see all the corrosion in there, and you can smell it if you don't believe me. And what I came back with is this thing right here. This is made out of a piece of scrap pipe. He was able to, all right, stop poking me. He was able to bore this out to the exact diameter that it needs to be, and it is buttery smooth on the inside. He has some kind of specialty like stone honing machine or whatever. And yeah, he got it really smooth. So I got the piston. It's kind of stuck in there because it's skirted at one end. It's like tapered a little bit. And what I did is I went to the local hydraulic shop and I got a new O-ring for that to replace the one that flopped out of it, and two other O-rings for the adjuster valve on this. So what I've learned is that these tractor hydraulic systems are incredibly simple. There's literally just that one cylinder that goes through this opening right here, and the little valve with the screw that controls how fast and slow the implement raises and lowers. The way this works, it doesn't get much easier than this. The cylinder pushes the hydraulic fluid, expands the cylinder, and raises the three-point hitch, and all that valve does is it controls how quickly that cylinder drains when you go to lower the hitch. It's literally that simple. So what we got to do, clean out all this disgusting filth. Look at that, we got chunks of rust everywhere. And so yeah, we're gonna do that. The other thing is, I don't believe that this chamber has any type of ventilation whatsoever. If it does, I can't see it. There's no breather on this rear end of the tractor for some reason, from what I can see, which is incredibly strange. So we're going to add one to keep it from overpressurizing in the future. So I got one of these crankcase vent filters with the, you know, like the little cloth element or whatever in there. So that should keep the dust particles out of this. And I got some brass pipe as well. So I'm gonna find my pipe tap. We're gonna drill a hole and add that while we're at it. Then shove this whole thing back together. Hopefully it'll be lifting and lowering implements by the end of the night. Let's see what happens. And once I got the hydraulic assembly bolted down to the top of this, and I think everything's looking pretty good. There's really no way to know until we fire this thing up and test it out. But I'm pretty happy with how well this went back together. And I was thinking, you know, there's all this oil in the rear half of the tractor now. You know, we got hydraulic fluid mixed with transmission fluid, which you're not really supposed to have because the way it was set up, it was using two fluids. We're just going to replace them both with a combination transmission hydraulic fluid, so that should be fine. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, shoot, there's what, 2-3 gallons of oil in this. I'll just pop a catch pan under this. So that's what I do. I release the drain and I'm like, I'm just gonna let this drain as I go eat lunch. You know, it shouldn't drain all the oil out of this, just what's in the hydraulic system, right? Well, you can see how that turned out. Yeah, so I don't think they're supposed to be mixing together, but they are, and so it's kind of a mess. I don't think it'll actually cause any problems now that this is properly vented, which it wasn't previously. So we're just gonna fill both the transmission and the rear end / hydraulic reservoir with the same fluid. And it should be fine. It's not ideal, but like I said, it's vented now, so I don't think it'll really cause any problems. And then we're gonna try this thing out. Here we go. Man, I love this thing. What a good old tractor. All right, this is the big moment. Oh yeah. There we go. All right, this might need a few tries of that just to get broken in. Maybe it's always been like this, I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter because it's hard to say it was working right beforehand with that nasty rotten O-ring. Seems to be. Hey, it seems to be working. All right, just got the PTO shaft set up and everything greased and some grease in the grease box on this thing. And let's try it out. So I'm really excited to try out the spreader later on, but the thing about these is anyone who's ever been around one can attest they don't really weigh all that much. This thing probably only weighs 200-300 pounds. So although the tractor picked it up pretty much effortlessly, which I was really happy about, I wanted to try it with something heavier. And that's where this garden tiller came in. This thing is, I believe, 56 inches wide of tilling width. It probably weighs the better part of 1,000 pounds. I don't have the specs right in front of me, but it's pretty much solid steel. It's pretty heavy. And as you can see, tractor has no issues with that either. So I ran this up and down a bunch of times just trying to bleed out any air that might be in the hydraulic system. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Everything went really well. And the tractor seems to have no issues picking this up. This is probably the heaviest thing that I would ever ask of it. And honestly, I'm pretty thrilled with this little machine. You know, I was able to get that hydraulic cylinder made basically for free. I'm going to trade some services with that guy. So I guess it's not really free, but no cash out of pocket. I saved like, you know, $600 something just on the sleeve. He gets some stuff done, saves him a ton of money. Really, everybody wins. And this little tractor, I think I got probably about $2 grand in it at this point or so. And yeah, I can't wait to try this thing out. So Everything seems to be working. There's no hydraulic leaks. We now have the breather on the rear end of this thing and also some LED lights, because the original ones that are like 40, 50 years old, they can be a little temperamental sometimes. And I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I'd just like to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more projects coming soon.